and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If this is something you end up enjoying, you never know, it could happen. Anyway, I've got another Tuesday Reviews Day. We have The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. We've been doing a buddy read on the channel, and it was high time. I keep moving forward in this series. I had read Fellowship of the Ring earlier last year with my daughters, and then I read it again at the end of the year because someone suggested a reread, a buddy read. And then, of course, now we've got The Two Towers happened as well. So I'm actually progressing forward here in the series because my girls took a little bit of a break to read their own stuff, which is fair. I don't want to push it on them too hard, but they have loved it so far. And I think they're getting close to being ready to jump back in. Too many things. I've created monsters in all the best ways as far as my little readers. So I love it. They have TBRs of their own and they're already getting stressed by them. So I do feel a little bit bad. Anyway, let's jump into my typical review style. Number one, I like to take a look at the cover. Number two, I like to give a quick summary. And then number three, we've got quotes or one quote, depending. Lots of quotes in this one. Quotes from the book to get you an idea of what it's like. 4, likes and then dislikes. Number 5, if you liked this, then you might like this. Number 6, a rating, and then in this case, a number 7, audiobook. How did the audiobook narrator do? All right, number 1, the cover. The cover, this is actually, what I say with these is they're the only movie edition of any book series that I've ever loved, although I have to say this one's my least favorite of the 3. If you look at my last review for The Fellowship of the Ring, that's my favorite. I love it. It's absolutely brilliant. This one's got some Saruman, you know, it looks like some Gandalf, which again, it's a focus and it makes sense, but it's not my favorite as far as movie stills. The first one is really great. I mean, compare that. It's just, I love this one. Then you'll get the last one soon here, and I'll compare them all 3, I'm sure. So for a quick summary, if you don't already know, and this is going to be some spoilers for book 1, potential spoilers in book 2, but I will give you a warning. Most everything is going to be spoiler free in this review. And again, if you've watched the movies or read the books, you probably already have by now. You're gonna be fine, obviously. The movies are pretty close to the books. All right, so a brief summary. At the end of The Fellowship of the Ring, we've got a parted company. The Fellowship is broken up. And I'll explain this. Each of the 3 books in The Lord of the Rings is split up into 2, what they call books. So it's essentially 2 sections, 2 main sections that each start over at chapter 1 in each of those books. Purists will say that The Lord of the Rings is 1 full book. All 3 of them are just 1 full book. But that 1 full book is split up into 6 books. And then so the way that they've been split up into this trilogy is by 2 books at a time. So this is technically book 2 of the trilogy, but books 3 and 4 of the entire trilogy of the Lord of the Rings. We'll go with that. So you have, and so having said that, you've got this breaking up of the Fellowship, and so what happened at the end, we've got Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas have now got to go take off and follow Merry and Pippin and the orcs that took them, and they go off on this, on tracking them down, on catching up, and then again meeting and having all kinds of adventures from there. Then you've got, and that's really book 4, or the first book of The Two Towers. And then you've got book 5, so the second half of this book has split it into where you follow Sam and Frodo on their adventure heading to Mordor with the ring, and they're the only ones that have the ring. That's the summary that I'll give for now. We'll get into more. Quotes. I want you to, one of the problems with The Lord of the Rings is that I wanted to quote pretty much the whole book. We'd be here a while if I were doing that. I'll just give you a couple. One of them may be a little bit of spoilery, so I'll let you know when that happens. Number 1, war must be while we defend our lives against a destroyer who would devour all. But I do not love the bright sword for its sharpness, nor the arrow for its swiftness, nor the warrior for his glory. I love only that which they defend. If you know who that is, you know who that is. It's a certain brother. I won't give any more than that. Then you've got a Sam quote. I just love this one. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. Sorry, I can't help myself but go into my Sam. It's a bad Sam, I get it. All right, this one, a little bit of spoiler. I'll give you where to pick up in the reading. I don't know how much of a spoiler. Anyway, whatever. It's a spoiler for who's talking. "In one thing you have not changed, dear friend," said Aragorn. "You still speak in riddles." "What, in riddles?" said Gandalf. "No, for I was talking aloud to myself, a habit of the old. They choose the wisest person present to speak to. The long explanations needed by the young are wearying." I love that, which is funny to compare to the Ents, who are all about not being hasty. Anyway, we'll move on. Likes versus dislikes. I could go on and on and on and on and on. There's so many things that I love about this. My rating is not going to be a surprise in the end. So this whole likes and dislikes is definitely going to be under spoilers. I can't help myself, but this is going to be spoilers, so I'll give you a place to jump to, and I'll try to do that in the description below. I haven't done that before. All right, my likes. For some reason, I completely forgot that Legolas and Gimli counted. They did the counting thing of their orc kills, and for some reason I thought it was just a movie thing, but it's totally a book thing too. I love that. It's so good. It's so epic. That whole part with Helm's Deep. The most satisfying part of this book might just be when Gandalf takes out Wormtongue, essentially. Cures, or whatever you want to call it. He helps Theoden out and gets him out of the spell that he's under. It feels so great, and immediately you can tell when someone's slimy. They don't focus on the words or the ideas, they focus on the minutia, on something that's not quite, a red herring or whatever. And of course Wormtongue immediately gets mad at the guard for letting Gandalf in with his staff, and that whole part is just so satisfying. It's so great. I love how just kind of, I don't know, there's just, this sense of, I just love how magical it is. I don't know how else to describe it, but this idea of just, the good guys, they're going to win in the end. And we already saw that, not everybody is in the Fellowship is going to survive this. But I just love this kind of overall set of events that gets us to where we get in the end, and essentially where, not only, is it just this careful planning from Tolkien, and I've mentioned this before, his foreshadowing is just great, where, the orcs don't know, and of course the bad guys can't trust each other, so they're not going to tell the details of what's supposed to be going on here. So the orcs just take hobbits. They don't know which hobbits they're supposed to take. They probably don't even know how many hobbits are with this fellowship. They just take hobbits. That's what they're supposed to do, take them back to their masters. And then the hobbits themselves are, find a way to escape, and then they end up in Fangorn Forest and run into the Ents, and then get the Ents riled up, and they go attack Saruman. And then you've got, which is just, it's so cool. And then you've also got Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli running after, and then they end up with the Rohan, the people of Rohan. They help there, they meet up with Gandalf. It's really just so well told and so much fun to just see, and where Saruman really, as wise as he thought he was completely captured by Sauron. And again, we learn with the Palantir there. I could keep going and going and going and going. The parts with, somehow Tolkien's able to just make Gollum so pitiful. And you feel that they take pity on this treacherous thing, but you're like, is it his fault? And again, it's the same way that where rereading again, and I kind of always was disappointed in Boromir. Oh, he failed. But did he fail? We take pity on Gollum for what he did. Look what Boromir did and how he turned it around. And he might have been tempted for a while, but he turned around and did the right thing. And that's what matters and what I remember him for. And so there's funny parts with it. It is humorous because it's Gollum or Smeagol, and Anyway, and then that betrayal that Frodo has to do, and he knows he's going to feel like Gollum's feeling betrayed. But I like that sense of like you still do the right thing, even if that bad thing might happen. All right, dislikes. Just a couple, really. The Battle of Helm's Deep in the book, man, it is so much shorter than I thought it was. And I felt like, and again, maybe I've watched the extended edition too many times for the movie, but the Battle of Helm's Deep is so short in the book. It just kind of is like a chapter and it's done. And you're like, wait, that was it? It's very short in the book. I wanted more. You know, is that really a bad thing? It's a dislike though, okay? But speaking of the movie, I feel like the movie did it right. Instead of just having a whole section just dedicated to Legolas, Gimli, Aragorn, and then a whole section like the book did of Frodo and Sam, I like how the movie, they go back and forth, right? You kind of see the progress as the time is moving forward. That just, it makes more sense instead of just having it all in one. I just think the movie did improve on the books in that way. I get the structure that Tolkien was using, but I do think that was one thing that could have been improved upon. All right, number 5. If you like this, then you like X. This is one that's funny that it's just like, if you like this, then you like the rest of fantasy that exists today. So pretty much that's my starting recommendation. I do feel like Sword of Shannara is the easy one. That's like, it was kind of a copy of this pretty much, not fully. You've got the Rift War saga from Raymond E. Feist, Belgariad. You've got a lot of these, a lot of fantasy just kind of, can take from this. But I do still, I stick to Michael J. Sullivan's J.R.R. Revelations is really good, like a modern take on the same types of things with elves, dwarves, and all those kinds of creatures. So I'm going to stick with that one. All right, my rating, 10 out of 10. This actually is my my favorite, I think, of the trilogy. Man, this is hard. It's a hard one. It's my favorite of the movies, at least, and maybe that's kind of coloring my idea of the books, but who knows. But it's an easy 10 out of 10 regardless, so I mean, they're all up there at super duper S tier, whatever you want to call it. Then finally, the audiobook. The audiobook was brilliant. I highly, highly recommend Andy Serkis, who plays Gollum in the movies. He does a brilliant job not only with Gollum, and that's the beauty of this, is Gollum was not, I mean, he kind of peeps in a little bit in Fellowship of the Ring, but he really makes an appearance and is a huge character in The Two Towers, and we get some great Gollum voice, which of course is like the definitive Gollum voice that Andy Serkis does. And then, not only that, he does all the rest of the characters just really well. He doesn't try to just, and I think that was the right way to go, just copy the movie. I feel like some, like Gandalf, you kind of have to have an Ian McKellen type voice to it, but not necessarily. Whereas like Sam, Merry Pippin, he kind of does his own, he kind of tries, anyway, it works. If you're expecting exactly the movie, you're not going to get that, but I don't think you can. I think he had to kind of just do what made sense and what he could pull off, and that makes the most sense. And again, he could pull off Gollum. That's what matters in this one, and there's lots of Gollum here. So anyway, that's my review. I love this series. This is what got me started reading fantasy. It's the whole reason I even have a channel, let's be honest, and why I just can't get enough. And I'm constantly looking to be immersed in a world as much as I was immersed for the first time, and now for the third time in this world. Absolutely love it. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.